under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Bonzal,
Here.
Commissioner Frazier, Commissioner Lorenzer,
Here.
Commissioner Schlegel,
Here.
Commissioner Stonehouse, Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Here.
and Mayor Smith.
Here. Commissioners, we have 2 members absent from this meeting. Do we have a motion to excuse them? Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
I move that we excuse Commissioners Frazier and Stonehouse for today's meeting.
We'll need a reason, Your Honor, for that.
They're traveling for the holidays.
That's good.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Bonzal?
I'd like to second that motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Commissioners, we have an agenda in front of us. Do we have a motion? Commissioner Schlegel?
I would move to approve the agenda as written.
Thank you. Second, Commissioner Lorenzer.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
None.
Hearing none, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Announcements for this meeting. I've got a list here of openings on various boards and committees. I'll just read through the names of the committees that have openings. There's more information on the city website. Board of Zoning Appeals, Board of Review, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Harbor Advisory Committee, Investment Advisory Board, Local Development Finance Authority, Local Officers Compensation Commission, Marquette Area Wastewater Treatment Advisory Board, Marquette County Transit Authority, Parks and Rec Advisory Board, Planning Commission, Police Fire Pension Board, and Public Art Commission. It would be great if we could have some folks step up and fill these openings. I know we've been filling them slowly through time, but this is one way you can really give back to your community. Thank you. Up next on our agenda, we have some appointments. Commissioners, we've got 3 appointments listed in front of us on the agenda. Do we have a motion? Commissioner Bonzal.
I move that we appoint Eric Johnson, Mark Schneider, and Jessica Coase as recommended.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Commissioner Lorenzer.
I'll second that.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to a reappointment. We have 1 reappointment in front of us. Do we have a motion, Commissioners? Commissioner Schlegel?
I would make the motion to appoint David Boyd as written.
And do we have a second? Bonzo?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion on this? Go ahead,
Schlegel.
Schlegel. Sorry about that.
I just want to say thank you to David. In the early 2000s, when I first started to give back to the community and serve on the Presque Isle Advisory Committee, he was our chair there. And this is a guy that has been continuously, year after year after year, giving back to the community, and I just want to make sure that that's recognized.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All in favor, please say yes. Yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. That brings us to public comment. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please clearly state your name and physical address when making public comments. Also, please note the commissioners cannot immediately respond to public comments. Our chance to do so is at the end of the meeting during commissioner comments. And go ahead and first one comment.
James Gallant, Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition, 538 Yelmer Road, Scandia, Michigan. And I would like to outline for you and the community, because you folks in the community, there's a long-standing controversy about the rules of procedure and whether they've been approved and the Robert's Rules of Order and all of this. And then there's new procedure now. There's a new development, and that is that at the last meeting, Ron Keefe stated that his opinion is that you're not violating any Robert's Rules of Order. But his long-standing position was that you don't have to follow it. That's why you're not following it. And this has been suspended, several rules. The making a motion before any debate has been suspended several times, starting with John Kivala, when he determined that, yes, this is the rule, and it should have been suspended every time. Instead of just, and the other rule, there's a rule that the duty and responsibility of the presiding officer is to immediately entertain a motion to address the agenda item when it comes up on the agenda. Not to assign it to the floor, to the chair, to the clerk, and the report and recommendation, and then you just, meander on through it. And then there's another rule, and I would just ask you to please schedule a public hearing so that we can go through these rules. Commissioner Bonzel has stated that you're looking into it, but not directing somebody to look into it and file a report with you means they're looking into what they want to look into. That's all. This is just a long-standing, this is where I learned all this, is that you people just kind of like Fred Stonehouse did, oh, could you lay this for rest once and for all, Ron, and told him what to say. Well, Ron Keefe does not have the authority to make a decision here. He's not an elected official. He could recommend to you. You make a decision and you only speak by vote. That's why the ethics ordinance says you cannot inject your personal opinion and be the opinion of the city, because the opinion of the city is voted on. That's what you got to vote on, and that's what you voted on. You said you will use Robert's rules, and he read it, the point of order. That's why he didn't read the point of order. That's why, and I would ask you to entertain the point of order that was already still standing. It says that the clerk maintains the time. And now, right now, as we speak, my legal rights and violating the Constitution, freedom of speech, and due process. You see, there's a process, there's a rule. It says the clerk's going to maintain it, and the clerk's going to tell me when it's done. And the chair right now is violating my legal rights under federal law and the Constitution, in my opinion. And I would just ask you to please have the public hearing. And you four members can actually earn the trust of this community to entertain the points of order. Read the rule onto the record. I will help you. I will read it for you. Give me about 10 minutes of privileged comment, and I'll do it a few times and just read it from the book. This is what it says. Just to leave this standing and to say, well, we can flexible rules because it's a small committee. Well, you got to actually change them. But you never did that. And this is a long-standing breach, and this is how it changed from one administration to the next. And they just go, oh, okay, we'll just continue the breach because it's a lot easier. And, please do the right thing here. And
Your time is up, sir.
okay, is that from the clerk too?
Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening. My name is Mary Dowling, and I live at 175 Bayou Street. I'm the CEO for the Hospitality House of the Upper Peninsula, which encompasses the Beacon House and other supportive services that provide to the medical community. I'm here tonight to answer any questions that you may have regarding our efforts to build the new Beacon House next to the new hospital. Beacon House has a long-standing legacy of compassion and caring. Since 2002, you might find this interesting, we've provided over 324,000 overnight stays for patients and families coming to Marquette for a medical crisis. So every one of those families has a unique reason for staying with us, but they all include the need to be right next to the hospital. And all who enter our loving environment are provided a warm, welcoming embrace, regardless of their ability to pay. So I'd like to take a moment to thank all of you and our city manager, Mike Angeli, for helping us to navigate the journey that we've been on since the hospital announced its intention to move. I've consulted with Mike on numerous occasions to ensure that our efforts to sell the former Beacon House and acquire the land from the hospital have been handled in the appropriate manner and in everyone's best interest. It's a pleasure to work with such supportive and compassionate people from both the city and the hospital. Everyone has shared their expertise and advice, and the result will hopefully be a spring groundbreaking followed by the winter grand opening of the new Steve Mariucci Family Beacon House. So thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
John Sondreger, 515 Spruce Street in Marquette. I'm here representing the homeless shelter room at the inn. I'm the board chair, and I'd like to thank the commission for taking the step to bring on the agenda the potential appointment of a member of this commission to the task force. I really appreciate the leadership of the mayor and the commissioner on this subject, and available to answer any questions if you have any. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Sue Legale. I live at 609 Lakewood Lane. I was here over 29 years ago for the same reason we are here this evening. That's when we opened the doors of the very first Beacon House, at that time on College Avenue. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for walking this journey with us all of those years, because thanks to you, we are so grateful to have served so many patients and families from across the Upper Peninsula, the country, and even some from around the world. But thank you so much for your continued leadership in this endeavor.
Hi, John Mallow, 1904 Clark Street. Later on your agenda, you have talking about the Homelessness Task Force appointment. So I'm just here to tell you there are an army of us here. So if at the second public comment you'd like us to address anything, you can just ask us, but we're pretty well represented, so we'd have it covered. Thanks.
Anyone else for public comment?
Frank Giaverdo, 350 East Ridge, Marquette, to speak on item 7. These are my opinions. November 12th, I told this board, quote, October 28th, Mr. Stonehouse indicated that he doesn't have to follow Robert's rules to the letter. While this is true, he still must uphold the tenets of the Open Meetings Act as dictated by his superiors, end quote. Minutes later, Mr. Stonehouse asked our attorney if this board must follow Robert's rules. Another man may have claimed so, and he may well be right, but I don't care as much about rules except when the ignorance of them breaches our public process. The honest question for our attorney, based on the comment just heard, would have been whether this board must obey the tenets of the Open Meetings Act. Our attorney responded only to the question asked, saying that nothing he's heard from Mr. Stonehouse violated Robert's rules. He neglected to say whether members can talk over part of our 3 minutes, especially in situations where the citizen was not in violation. Members and public alike are asked to note how Mr. Stonehouse danced around the most compelling testimony to obtain the response he wanted our public to hear. The commission rules that Mr. Gallant invested time and personal expense to provide were handed to each member November 12th. Page 9, item 2B reads, quote, each person who addresses the commission shall not utter loud, threatening, or abusive language or engage in a personal attack on a commissioner, officer, or employee that is unrelated to the manner in which he or she performs his or her duties, end quote. My comments are limited to the manner in which they perform their duties. Mr. Stonehouse was clearly out of line on all 3 nights that he interrupted me, in alleged violation of this board's own rules as well as the OMA. He ought to face the consequences. While I don't claim to have never personally attacked a member in comments that span 21 years and 1,040 pages, these comments next to always pertain to job performance. In case I ever did personally attack, show us where, and I'll either apologize or respond with more detail than bargained for. For example, that filthy boathouse. My October 28th statement to a member that I share the commonality of making this board look foolish apparently prompted Mr. Stonehouse's latest interruption. My comments solely pertain to Mr. Fraser's performance here, in part for his remark to the library director that our library would be better if a certain type of punch was available. After all the trouble there with alcohol and needles. We knew he was joking, but nary a soul laughed. Following that comment, the same man went on to accuse me of threatening one of our mayors in the bathroom, a totally preposterous, blatant, and easily provable lie. Is that not foolish? Yet for a second meeting, neither man who was fully aware of the details addressed that accusation. They danced around that too. Certain members routinely dance around our most controversial matters. They are advised to save their dancing for the ballroom.
Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening. I'm Sharon Mackey from the Marquette Housing Commission, 58 South Shag Lake Drive, Gwinn, Michigan. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have regarding the PILT and the request to continue it as it was. And would also like to make just a small comment that I was really hoping that this would be able to go more quickly, but due to your diligence to follow parliamentary procedure and make sure that it hit a hearing and a public hearing, I'm here tonight. So I can attest that, yes, you guys do follow the rules. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Evening evening. I'm Julie Kelly from 26 Lakeview Drive. I'm here if you guys have any questions on the Mill Creek Independent Living liquor license. Thank you very much.
Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Up next, we have a recycling update presentation from Randy Yell, Chair of the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority. Randy, please go ahead. And I do think, is it best to go over at this lectern on the side, if you don't mind? That'd be great. Thanks, Randy.
Well, good evening, and I'm happy to be here. Each one of you have a copy of the recycling updated sheet. So I'll just kind of go over that real quickly. I won't take up too much of your time. The actual design phase is pretty much complete. It'll be completed by the end of this month. Construction will start on the 2 existing buildings that have to be remodeled to accept the single stream recycling equipment as well as the glass equipment. And those both pieces of equipment have been ordered and secured, and they're being built as we speak. The down payments have been made on them. They're anticipated to be delivered here by mid-spring of 2020. And, the reminder is the curbside for Marquette City will stay in place until such times as we notify you that we're ready to go to the single stream. And we will give you plenty of advance notice on that, you and the haulers, and we'll put out the paperwork on that and send out letters. We are going to be sending out mass mailings to the entire Marquette County as well as Region 1, because we'll be accepting single stream recycling from Region 1 in the state of Michigan. The glass will be accepted from Marquette County only. The survey showed that by going to single stream recycling, we would raise from Marquette County's 8% up to as much as 35 to 40%, and we're pretty excited about that. I just want to touch a little bit on the glass. I've been meeting with 4 professors from Michigan Tech, and they've come up with some uses for glass that we can have here, and I'll just name a few of them. One of them is for road applications. We have the machine processes that we got coming, processes small chunks of glass, and then another that looks like sand, and then the ball machine, which processes right down into what would look like a dust, like a powder. Anyway, the sand type thing, what looks like sand would be in road applications. You can mix it with the road applications with the dirt. This I just got from the professors here about a month ago. The other thing is backfill for mine, like an Eagle. When they backfill, they pour these concrete tubes, and then in between they put sand. Well, the acidity in that groundwater up there deteriorates the concrete in time. The processed glass that comes out of our machine does not do that. So that's, and I'm getting a hold of Mr. Johnson. I'm supposed to be meeting with him later on this next month. Also, the bigger chunks of glass, which are only about a 1/4 inch, they're used for chip seal in other states. And I'm talking with our county and MDOT for using it with our chip seal. The one that and also that it's also used in shingles and in insulation. The one that I like is the concrete. Fly ash is getting to be very difficult to get. As we know, the coal is getting less and less, so the fly ash is there. This pulverized glass, which comes out of these big ball machines, I'm going up to Eagle to look at their 20-footers. And when the product that comes out of that will replace fly ash. And I've been contacted by a couple of concrete companies that are interested in it, to the product that we put out. So we'll be able to get rid of pretty much everything we get right here locally. We're securing contracts. We went to UP Paper down in Manistee. They'll take all of our cardboard bundles once we get into single stream. We have other ones that'll take the cardboard, the paper, the 1 and 2 plastics. We got a company out of Minnesota that will take the 1 and 2 plastics, and it's reasonable price. We figure it looks like in 4 years, this is a $6.5 million project. The funding is in place. We have a financial plan, and it looks to be pretty solid, and it's working well. It won't show a profit until after the equipment and everything is paid off, and that's anticipated to be completely paid off within about 4 years. Excuse me, I've got some lung damage from asbestos from the Air Force, and so if my voice changes, that's what it is. And once it's paid off, it'll be self-sufficient. The Region 1 recycling single-stream recycling that will come into our facility, the county will pay nothing for the tonnage. Out of Marquette County will pay $20 a ton. And the glass, there will be no charge for the recycling glass from Marquette County. I've been contacted by Representative McBroom, wanting to know if we have any way we could accept the Region 1 glass as well as Marquette County's. That would be a big project. I met with suppliers up in Iron Mountain and Manistee, and they were talking about 3 semi-loads a week coming into the facility. So I'm setting up a meeting with Sarah Combenzi and with Ed McBroom to discuss this, because we're willing to do this, but we're talking about a brand new structure and we're talking about twice the equipment. So if they can come up with a grant of about $2 to $3 million, we'd be more than happy to put it in place. If there's any questions, that's my update.
Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Lawrencer?
Thank you. I've been calling this the Marquette Glass Redemption. And I think Commission was very surprised that we weren't recycling glass. And I know that a big part of this is accountability, and to make sure that citizens are assured that what's happening to our glass on the county level is being done. We got into a situation where the market was no longer viable for glass, but the problem was a disconnect in communication to the municipalities and communicating that to the public. So I see we have a whole 2020 outreach and education plan. Can you talk a little bit about how we can encourage citizens in the community, especially on our end as a municipal government? What can we do to rebuild trust, to encourage people to participate, because participation will be a key component to this. So can you talk about some of these bullet points about how we reinvigorate the enthusiasm to recycle glass?
Okay, well, what we're going to be doing is our director, Mr. Austin, he's working with Northern Michigan University on an outreach program. And we've already started. There's been some advertisement on TV6 and in the Mining Journal. And there's going to be a mass mailing to the entire Region 1 that we have addresses for that'll tell you what we'll accept in single stream, but the glass has to be source separated, because glass contaminates the cardboard and the paper and the plastics. That's why it's source separated. And as far as, I apologize for, when I first came on as chairman in 2012, I discovered in the backwoods huge piles of glass that we thought were being recycled that weren't. And when that became, that's when we had to quit taking it, because we didn't have a recycling program for it. I got contacted by, what is their name offhand? The glass company, anyway, out of New York. And that's when we got the products and found out, and then I did some checking around here with the County Road Commission, with Eagle, with Empire Mine, and found out that we can get rid of glass after we get it broke down. So we're happy about that. And the main thing is extending the life of the landfill. By not putting glass in the landfill and going to single stream recycling, our consultants claim that at a minimum we'll increase the life of the landfill by 12 years. Right now we're sitting at 52. And with the changes in Part 15, it's considerably costly to put a new landfill in, even if the state would allow it in the UP. We're not even sure of that yet. And they will not. They've already came out and told us that they will not authorize any new cells in any existing landfills. And right now we're in cell 4. We're ready to go into cell 5. And I did manage to get it after many meetings downstate. We got the other 5 cells back that the previous management got rid of. So we're up to cell. We have 9 cells. So we're in pretty good shape. But as far as the people, they can go on our website. They're welcome to come to the landfill at any time. All they got to do is call ahead of time. So we got the better looking vehicle ready to take them around. we got a couple of them that we use, but what they're used for, they don't have to be in real good external shape. But there's going to be an awful lot of publicity going out, both from Northern and also from the Regional Recycling Coalition, which we are partnered with, also from the state of Michigan's Recycling Coalition, which we belong to. And you're going to see 5 raccoons out here talking about recycling and all that. And
oh, really? Like mascots, raccoon mascots?
Correct. Well, they got them on. You'll see them on TV. The one is for glass, and one is for plastic, and one is for paper. And he talks about it and how to do this and everything.
That's awesome. Well, I think this is huge for
Oh,
the
yeah.
county. I think a key component to this would be to make sure to keep us updated.
Oh,
If
yes.
the market changes, we would like to know about it.
Well,
And,
Marquette City is 50% of our input. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you and Sands Township are the founding fathers of the landfill at the authority. And of course, I'm appointed by Sands Township, so they're updated on a regular basis. But I'm willing to be here anytime you guys need me. And then when there's any big changes come, I will definitely get a hold of Mr. Mike there, and I'm sure he'll set me up to come in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments or questions? Commissioner Schlegel?
Chairman Yell, I think we've high-fived on this a couple of times, or meant to. This is really exciting, considering that we came from like you said, the story of why aren't we recycling to can we find a way to get this to a recycling facility out of our area, trucking it out, and now we're going to be able to keep it all here and put it to good use. I mean, this is just like pinch me, I can't believe it's happening type stuff. So I want to thank everybody on your side of the table there that's done so much hard work. One quick question in regards to the plastics. Is that going to be, are we only recycling 1s and 2s now? Is that how it's going to change, or are we going to be able to do the whole again?
No, you guys send them all to us.
Okay.
Our machine will take out 1 and 2s and put them in the one area for bundling, because those there, we get a real good price for it. If it's got any one of 3 through 7 in it, we don't get anything for it. It costs us to get rid of it. The 3 through 7, we'll be shredding it. We'll either, if we can't find a use, we're not going to bury it. We will not bury it as long as I'm chairman. What we can do with it, we can shred it up and mix it with the sand and use it for cover. So we are having a use for it. If not, we'll just keep sending it to Canada. At the end of the day, the money we get in the shipping and everything, it ends up costing us a little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah.
It's less than $100 a load.
So I think that's really a great great way to keep all of it, and as useful as a process as possible. I had another thing on the plastic, but I guess we'll have plenty of time to talk about it in the future. But thank you guys again for all the work. I just can't tell you how excited I am to be on this side.
At the end of the day, it's hard to put a value how much extending that landfill by 12 years, but it's up in the millions.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments or questions? Commissioner Bonzo?
Well, first of all, Mr. Yell, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all of your efforts and all of the work that you've put into this project over the last several years, and the entire Solid Waste Management Authority. I think you've all really gone above and beyond what anybody can expect of any appointed board members at any level of local government, so thank you. I just have 2 brief questions. First, when you say Region 1, just for me, because I'm not aware, what does Region 1 encompass? Just the whole UP?
The Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Great.
Actually, we've got people from Houghton getting ready to bring in. We got haulers that are going to bring them up from other counties around. And actually, like I said, the glass is something that other counties are interested in, because these suppliers they take this glass, they break it up, they got to truck it either to Detroit or something like. And we're centrally located here in the Upper Peninsula, and they would like to. But yeah, Region 1 is the UP.
Yeah, well, and I agree. I think that we have a really great opportunity to become a regional hub for recycling here in Marquette County. My second question, so this is going to be about a $6 million project, give or take, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I was just curious, you mentioned that this is going to extend the life of our landfill by about 12 years, which is incredible, and that a new landfill would be very expensive. Do you have just a rough ballpark of how much it would cost to create a new landfill, assuming you could get approval from the state?
It costs $2 to $3 million to put a cell in. I don't know. I can't tell you how much it'd put an entire landfill in, but it runs between $2 and $3 million to put a cell in.
Per cell. And how many cells do we have at the current landfill?
9.
9.
We're filling up 4 right now. We'll be moving into 5 in about 4 years.
Sure. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
Thank you guys so much. And it's just like the whole journey. I just wanted to throw that in. Certainly when I was knocking doors a year ago, it was recycling was pretty much the first thing I heard about. So the only thing I want to say is, I think there's going to be folks have a lot more room in their garages and basements once this glass recycling starts. And I hope you're ready for the inundation that's going to hit you there at the beginning. But it's really, I had the question about Region 1 too, which you answered. So that was my primary question. But I just, one more chance to say congratulations and thank you very much. And yeah, I look forward to when we can announce the single stream coming and the glass. Now, I'm sorry, do you think the glass and the single stream are going to come on at the same time, or there might be a different period of time for the two?
Well, we're planning on them both coming at the same time.
Okay.
Although I anticipate glass being earlier.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds like Commissioner Schlegel had one more comment.
Just one more quick one, thank you. Are we adding any additional jobs with this?
There'll be part-time to begin with. Once we get in place and see how everything's going, it's figured, once everything is said and done, yes, we'll be adding anywhere from 5 to 10 jobs.
Amen.
Well, thank you, Chair Yell, for coming this evening. I did have the opportunity to tour last year, and it's a great facility. I would encourage residents or commissioners, new commissioners who've been on a while, to check it out. We've come a long way from the public outcry a couple years ago, and I'm proud of the work that you've done.
That was an embarrassment that I didn't want to put up with.
No, you've handled it well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have 2 public hearings, both of which are related to the Marquette Housing Commission. City Clerk, could we please have the background for the first public hearing?
Thank you, Mayor. The City Commission is being requested to adopt an ordinance to reaffirm the payment in lieu of tax PILT agreement between the City and Marquette Housing Commission regarding Lake Superior Village. The attached ordinance is in compliance with federal, state, and local regulations. This public hearing was scheduled for this evening at the City Commission meeting held on November 12th, 2019. Fiscal effect, no change. The city will continue to receive a 4% of current rents as PILT. Recommendation, following the public hearing, adopt ordinance number 686, an ordinance for the Lake Superior Village tax exemption. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, Clerk. Public hearing for ordinance number 686, Lake Superior Village PILT, is now open. Members of the public wishing to comment on this item may step up to the podium. Public hearing comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please clearly state your name and physical address unless you have already stated your address during this meeting.
Sharon Mackey, 58 South Shag Lake Drive, Gwynn, Michigan. I am just asking that the commission does adopt this. As we are moving forward with the Housing Commission and trying to go through the RAD process, this is a very important component of it, so I request that you please pass this. Thank you.
Anyone else for the public hearing? Anyone else? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Bonzo?
I move that we adopt ordinance number 686, an ordinance for the Lake Superior Village tax exemption as written.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Commissioner Schlegel?
Second motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Bonzo, do you have any comments?
No, I think that based on the research that I've done, and I also had the opportunity to meet with Sharon and tour the Youth and Family Center at Lake Superior Village last week. They're doing really incredible things over there, and I think that the transition to RAD is going to be a really good thing for the community. And so we just need to pass this so we can keep moving forward with that process.
Commissioner Schlegel, any comments?
Keep up the good work over there, Sharon. Thank you.
Any additional comments from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner Lorenzer.
So I'm actually going to take a little contrarian position on this, and I think we've talked at Marquette Housing Commission. I had the opportunity to visit the Lake Superior Community Village, talk to somebody from HUD, someone in charge of the transition to RAD, and I think the most dangerous phrase in the human language is, "This is how it's always been done." And I've heard a lot of that. And for the past couple weeks, I have done significant research, and I really don't want to disparage anybody for voting for it. It is requested. A 4% PILT is very fair. It's equitable. 85% of municipalities across the state do have PILTs with their low-income housing. I, however, think we can go further and have been advocating for a 1% PILT and then a 0% PILT. I did want to amend it here, but I don't think that would get a lot of support. So I do just want to start the narrative of how we're funding amenities and who we're taxing and who we're asking to pay for services in Marquette. And PILTs are designed to pay for police, fire, and public works. But in these two particular facilities, we're talking about $33,000 a year. I think about our deficit and who we're asking to help with that and what kind of services are provided to Pine Ridge and to the Lake Superior Village and the money that you could save on that if we had a 0% PILT. So in my ideal world, I would hope that this would come back to us at a 0% option. That's something that I could support. We have PILTs for our low-income housing. We have PILTs for the Marquette Board of Light and Power, which is a financially stable organization. So I would like us to have a little bit of a different conversation of who we're asking PILTs from. I believe that there's a reason that you're tax exempt. There's a reason that you don't pay property taxes, and it's because you're a service. And so to me, I have to view the MHC like a city service. We have a direct relationship with you. And so I anticipate this to pass, but you know, and I don't want to call it a tax on the poor. That's not what it is. It's a little more complicated than that, but I would like us to go a little bit further. So for me, 4% is not enough. I think about the, or not enough, it's too much. I would like it at 0. And I think about the people that you could hire. I had the opportunity to spend the summer basically with Kendra. And Kendra is your social service coordinator, is that what you call her? And if this $33,000 could afford a new Kendra, I think about the 3 people that lived in my home for a week. One of them we permanently displaced after the fire. He's now homeless. And if we had another social worker at these facilities, I think that would have made a really big impact. So I think about the fire, I think about that community center where you have a $25,000 grant that's expiring. I would just prefer this in the hands of you. So I'm going to be voting against this today.
Commissioners, do we have any other comments? City Clerk, could you please conduct a roll call vote? Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Bonzel.
Yeah, I just had a question for Sharon. If you don't, I don't know if this is in order, but she's here to ask questions or answer.
We can go ahead and call Sharon Mackey to the podium.
Thank you. Sharon, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
I just wanted to ask and just to clarify that the 4% PILT that is paid by the Housing Commission for the Lake Superior Village and also for Pine Ridge, which we'll be voting on momentarily, that does not have an impact on the rent paid by residents, correct?
Correct. They pay 30% of their adjusted gross income regardless of what we're paying for other expenses.
Sure, great. Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, any additional questions or comments? Commissioner Schlegel.
Sharon, one more thing. Let's say that these rates weren't adjusted because of it's determined by the income, correct? Or what you're taking in, the PILT is determined by that?
Correct.
What could we anticipate the tax or the total being if we weren't going with a 4% PILT? Is there a way that we could monetize that? How much we would be
How much we would be paying if you did the normal?
Correct.
Unfortunately, I was thinking that earlier. I should have come up with those numbers, and I do not have them.
Do you have anything?
I really have no idea what the tax rate would be.
Staff have anything on that? I mean, do we?
So we're collecting PILT from the Housing Commission for 2 different properties. From Pine Ridge, we're currently getting just a little over 18,000, and from Lake Superior Village, just a little over 12,000. So between the two, we're getting 31,000. From all the PILTs we collect for and this is just regarding the public housing, we're getting approximately $60,000. So of the Housing Commission, 1% of what we're collecting from them is worth just short of $8,000. So, I was hearing a rumor at one time there might be reduced to 1%. If that were the case, the city would lose just short of $24,000 total in the PILT collection, and that's just from the Housing Commission. And my experience has been, because this has happened before, once you give a reduction to one, you're going to end up giving them to all, which would be a lot more, and I have that number too. So that number would be $45,000 if we were to do that for all. And as the person who's here some nights at 2 a.m. trying to figure out how to balance a budget, I'm requesting you don't make that job any more difficult than it already is. So my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Gary. Commissioners, any other comments? Go ahead, Schlegel.
I appreciate where you're going with that, Andrew. I think it's a very nice gesture, but at the same time, every penny that we have is accounted for and very necessary. I mean, we're scrambling to make up tax dollars that we're losing from different entities, whether we're talking about power plants and everything else. And I do appreciate what you're saying. But I think that it's a very fair assessment that we're doing for the commission, and that that they're doing well with the monies that they have. And I think, as you'll see as time goes on, and it sounds like you've had some time to spend with them, that they're very frugal with their funds, and that they're doing the best that they can with them at every avenue. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, could we please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bonsall?
Yes.
Commissioner Lorenzer?
No.
Commissioner Schlegel?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
Yes.
And Mayor Smith?
Yes. Motion passes 4-1. Up next, we have a second public hearing. City Clerk, could you please go ahead and read this background?
Thank you. The City Commission is being requested to adopt an ordinance to reaffirm the payment in lieu of tax PILT agreement between the city and Marquette Housing Commission regarding the Pine Ridge Apartments. The attached ordinance is in compliance with federal, state, and local regulations. This public hearing was scheduled for this evening at the City Commission meeting held on November 12th, 2019. Fiscal effect, no change. The city will continue to receive 4% of current rents as PILT. Recommendation, following the public hearing, adopt ordinance number 687, an ordinance for the Pine Ridge Apartments tax exemption. Alternatives, as determined by the commission.
Public hearing for ordinance number 687, Pine Ridge Apartments PILT, is now open. Again, members of the public wishing to comment on this item may step up to the podium. Public hearing comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please clearly state your name and physical address unless you have already stated your address during this meeting. Do we have anyone for public comment?
Hi, it's Sharon again. Again, just asking, and I definitely understand Andrew's no, which to me wasn't a no, it was a yes, but I encourage you also to pass this second ordinance. Thank you.
Anyone else for public hearing? Anyone else? Seeing none, this public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Schlegel,
I would make the motion to adopt ordinance 687 as written.
do we have a second?
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill, thank you. Commissioner Schlegel, any comments?
None further.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
I want to say, too, that this RAD process, which is going to take quite some time, years, really, but it's going to have an end result of allowing the Housing Commission to have access to funds that it doesn't have access to now, and that will allow them to significantly renovate the properties and to eventually be able to provide more services and improve the conditions and the services offered by the Housing Commission. This is one legal step along the way to make sure that this happens. And so an absolutely necessary step as it goes through this transformation. And not only will the housing be renovated and improved, but it will also mean, if I remember from the presentation you gave us, that folks will be able to also access housing outside the Housing Commission with vouchers that they were not able to do so previously. She's nodding yes. So this process, this is a step, a legal step, that where the city is affirming our connection with the Housing Commission, but also allowing the Housing Commission to access a lot more money than it had been able to previously. And the commission has been in here several times to help us understand that. So that's why I'm voting yes, although I do appreciate that asking folks to pay who are receiving services is also a question. This is a part of a larger change that will allow people to have better housing and access to more housing in our community.
Commissioner Lorenzer?
So just to be clear, it's the locked-in rate that we need, right? We don't necessarily need it at 4% for them to have access to the funds. We need a locked-in agreement. So that's the premise of my vote today. I have to vote on principle. I just can't do this one. I won't do it. So, but thank you. And I don't want to disparage anybody for voting for it. 4% is very equitable. We can pilt you at 10% if we wanted to. If you were paying a millage rate, 14 point something mils, it would be significantly between 12, 15%, something like that. So 4% is very fair, very normal. It's along the lines of 85% of municipalities across the state, but I just want to take us in a little bit different of a direction. I might be radical, but it's thought a lot about it, and I just can't do it, so thank you.
Any additional comments? City Clerk, could you please conduct a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bonzal,
Yes.
Commissioner Lorenzer,
No.
Commissioner Schlegel,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes?
and Mayor Smith.
Yes. Motion passes 4-1. Next up is the consent agenda. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Lorenzer?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as written.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Bonzel?
I will second that motion.
Any discussion on consent agenda? City Clerk, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner Lorenzer.
I just think it would be a good opportunity to talk a little bit more about the Mill Creek Independent Living Liquor License now that you're here.
Sure. Julie Kelly, would you mind to approach the podium and answer some questions for us?
It's just a really interesting, right?
Thanks.
So do you want to just give a summary of what this liquor license is all about at Mill Creek?
So Marquette Independent Living, or Mill Creek Commons, as the community might be more aware of what we are, is having an expansion right now across from Wilson Street. And part of that expansion includes a community center. And in discussion with our owner, Melissa Hinkson, about how we're going to use this community center and what amenities and services we'll offer our residents, we wanted to be both safe and legal in our happy hours, which we have right now inside our communities. But where do you draw the line when it comes to more independent residents? So we looked into getting a liquor license, and in that process learned that there is a license in the state of Michigan for continuing care retirement communities, and the state will offer 25 total. To my knowledge, 5 have only been offered so far, so we're going through the process of trying to apply for one of those, and in part of that application we require the approval from the local community to get complete that process.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Julie.
questions?
Any other questions for Julie?
It's for residents and friends of residents only, so it's not the general public. Yes, make some friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, City Clerk, go ahead and please conduct a roll call vote for us.
Commissioner Bonzal,
Yes.
Commissioner Lorenzer,
Yes.
Commissioner Schlegel,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes?
and Mayor Smith.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, we have the Duke Life Point Market General Hospital Project Agreement Amendments. City Clerk, could we please have the background?
Thank you, Mayor. On October 27th, 2014, a brownfield plan for the DLP Marquette General Replacement Hospital project was approved by the City Commission and subsequently the former Roundhouse property was sold to the hospital for this development. Along with the Brownfield plan, the city entered into other various agreements as required by the state or as otherwise needed. Recently, DLP has identified they intend to convey a portion of the hospital campus land, 1.8 acres, to Hospitality House of the Upper Peninsula, the Beacon House. Due to this sale and change in property boundaries, the existing agreements between the city and DLP need to be amended. Legal counsel for DLP and the city have prepared the attached amendments for City Commission review and consideration. The Marquette Brownfield Redevelopment Authority is a party to the post-closing development agreement and the reimbursement agreement and has approved both agreements at a special meeting on November 21st. Fiscal effect, none with this action. Recommendation, approve the attached First Amendment to post-closing development agreement, Second Amendment to reimbursement agreement, First Amendment to easement agreement, and First Amendment to special assessment agreement for the DLP Marquette General Replacement Hospital project, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the agreements. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, Clerk. Mr. Verito, you had reserved time on this item. Please go ahead.
Frank Giaverto, these are my opinions. For the umpteenth time, no depiction is provided for a land use item. The description of the land section reads, quote, part of the northeast quarter of Section 22, Township 48 North, Range 25 West, City of Marquette, being more particularly described as commencing at the quarter corner to Sections 22 and 23, thence N00 degrees, 52 minutes, 22 seconds east, along the section line and westerly plat line of Harlow's Addition Number 5, a distance of 140.63 feet to the point of beginning 2 for the right-of-way of Barriga Avenue. Have I read enough? The description reads on and on, covering more than 3 minutes. The document later reads, the land described in the corrective deed is set forth in Exhibit A, attached hereto and hereinafter referred to as the hospital campus land, whereas DLP anticipates conveying a portion of the land which contains 1.8 acres and is more particularly described in Exhibit B, attached hereto, the outparcel to the Hospitality House of Upper Peninsula, a Michigan nonprofit corporation, end quote. So where are the two exhibits? The excuse for the submission may be that all we're doing is correcting the deed, which begs the question as to why an error was made to begin with. Whether we're just correcting the deed or if the proposed building is designed yet has no bearing on why the two exhibits failed to reach tonight's packet or why no depiction was otherwise provided. When questioned about the absence of any drawing, the manager assistant replied, this is not a sale of city property and we do not have any drawings or designs, end quote. It took him 10 seconds to respond after I thrice scrolled through 34 pages of gibberish, followed by futile calls to the hospital, unanswered messages, and an hour to write a comment that doesn't even address the parcel itself. Another waste of everyone's time. After all we've endured along this line since Mr. Angeli assumed the manager position, he or his staff needed to assure a drawing was provided before scheduling this item. Instead, he recommended to approve on this first reading. Likewise, mayor after mayor has cared less, and Ms. Smith is too new to have expected to already have rectified this ongoing problem with the manager. It is, however, her responsibility to assure that due public process is fulfilled tonight. The cover sheet reads, due to the sale and change in property boundaries, the existing agreements between the city and DLP need to be amended. We therefore need to know the boundaries of this 1.8 acres to comment. I request a public opportunity for this at a subsequent meeting. At this time, it's impossible to participate effectively.
Commissioners, I wanted to let you know we do have representatives from Duke Life Point and the Beacon House available if commissioners have any questions for them. At this time, do we have a motion? Commissioner Lorenzer.
I will happily and excitedly make the motion that we, well, there's a long motion, the agreement amendments for the Duke Life Point Marquette General Hospital project. I motion that we approve that. Does that make sense? Is that okay?
I'll look at clerk here. You get that? Thank you. Commissioners, do we have a second? Commissioner Bonzel?
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Lorenzer, any comments?
I'm ecstatic to vote on this. This is so exciting. What a journey it's been. I worked at Beacon House for quite a while and met my fiance there, and I think they're we all might have some disagreements about, for-profit healthcare, but this shouldn't be one of them. This is a big good thing. There are people right now who, because of the transition, the necessary transition between the two properties, that are not receiving cancer care because they don't have a permanent place to stay. I know intimately that Beacon House saves lives, and I am so happy for you. I'm so happy to be a part of this decision, and I can't wait for the future. And if this gets you one step closer to opening your doors to people who need it, so exciting. It's really awesome.
Commissioner Bonzel, any comments?
I would just say that I'm also very excited to support this motion, and I mean, some of we got a little booklet from the Beacon House in our packet today, and just some of the numbers are truly astounding. Since 2002, they've saved families $65 million. As was mentioned before, over 320,000 overnight stays in that same time period. It's pretty much always full. It's clearly filling an incredibly important need in our community and really our region. So I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight and for all of your work to make this possible.
Commissioner Schlegel?
To see Duke Life Point, Marquette General, and the Mariucci group, the whole Beacon House piece come together, how hard you guys have worked, the countless hours that have gone into this, the fundraising. Every time that we donated as a family, I was very proud to do it, and I can't tell you that I gave enough. I'd love to give more, but your campaign that you ran was just fabulous, and I'm just so excited to see that DLP is coming through and giving up giving the property that's necessary to do this. It goes back to something as simple as Yoopers taking care of Yoopers. We are our own family up here, and we have to take care of each other. We have a fabulous hospital, state-of-the-art, amazing employees there, and we've got an amazing entity within the Beacon House that's going to carry this relationship even further to take care of our residents. And I am, for one, I'm honored to be a part of it tonight. So thank you for all your work.
Okay. Thank you very much to Beacon House, to Duke Life Point for working this out. I know a few months ago when this came up, we were worried about the technicalities and making sure that it all went through. Thank you to city staff for assisting and making sure we can get this all pushed through. I'm looking forward to seeing what the facility looks like and hope we can get a tour at some point. So let us know how else we can help. We're eager to help. Thanks. All right. Any other discussion, commissioners? Seeing none. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0.
Get to work.
Next up, we have the Homeless Task Force appointment. City Clerk, could we please have the background?
Thank you, Mayor. A local task force has been launched to address concerns regarding homelessness in the Marquette community. The mission of this task force is to create sustainable resources to resolve housing crises through awareness, prevention, and local solutions. The task force will have bi-monthly meetings, and its membership will consist of local service providers, concerned citizens, and representatives from local governments. Representatives from this task force have invited Mayor Smith to appoint a member of the City Commission to serve on this task force and assist in efforts to resolve homelessness in the community. The term for this appointment will start on November 25th, 2019, and end on November 25th, 2020. Fiscal effect, none to the city. Recommendation, authorize the mayor to appoint one commissioner as the city's representative on the homelessness task force for a term ending November 25th, 2020. Alternatives, as determined by the commission.
Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Bonzel.
I move that we authorize the mayor to appoint a city commissioner as the city's representative on the homelessness task force for a term ending on November 25th, 2020.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner, Mayor Pro Tem Hill, thank you. Commissioner Bonzel, any comments?
No, I would just say that I think that this is an incredibly exciting development. I think it's clear by now that our current approach to homelessness in the city of Marquette is not sustainable and it's not working. We can't afford to just keep sweeping this issue under the rug any longer, and I'm looking forward to hearing the task force's recommendations and hopefully finally taking some tangible action to address this urgent issue.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Hill, anything to add?
I second everything that Commissioner Bouncel said, and and I'm looking forward to learning more about the issue and through the task force and what the recommendations will be.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Lawrencer?
I think this is one of the most monumental moments for City Commission in a long time. Just talking about this issue, transferring the narrative about the causes of homelessness, of the people, our residents, our citizens. This is something that I'm so happy that it's come to fruition, and whoever is appointed to this, it is a great task that I think will be a defining moment for Marquette. We can really make a difference here, and I'm very excited for the opportunity to just hear recommendations from the task force. It's something that we can be very proactive about. So thank you for organizing it. Thank you for putting it in front of us. And thank you, Madam Mayor and Manager Angeli, for putting this on the agenda. My first meeting, I love it. And this is something that I'm very passionate about, but I love that this is happening.
Commissioner Schlegel.
I just want to echo the comments. I really feel that this is a responsibility that we owe to our community, to the so many people that have committed countless hours to the numerous approaches that have been taken, whether it's room at the inn or the summer shelter or any sort of the warming center. All of these different hardworking groups of people that have given endlessly to get this to where it is today. This is a big responsibility that we have as a community to our homeless people, and I'm very excited to see that it is moving forward. That wheels are spinning in the mud that was consuming the vehicle for a while. And that we're going to move forward with it in a way that's going to be best for the community. And I want to thank all of the people, not just behind the scenes that are here tonight, but all of the volunteers from countless churches that have contributed, whether it's the nights of rest or the hours of being there to chaperone the evening. I've moved many mattresses for a couple of years, and it was something that was alarming when you sit there and you start to see 15 mattresses turn into 20 mattresses to turn into 47 mattresses. And this is something that I'm really excited to see the community move forward with. Thank you.
So I see this as a pretty big opportunity for the city of Marquette and other partners to work together. Looking forward to see what the task force comes up with and how we can help as a city. It's a huge challenge, but it's also a big opportunity for our community. So thank you to the room at the end and the other partners for being here tonight and for taking this on and heading it up, and looking forward to seeing where it goes. Thank you for the opportunity to appoint someone from our commission. All right, so all in favor of this motion, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to public comment. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please clearly state your name and physical address unless you've already stated your address during this meeting.
James Gallant, Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition, and thank you for the waivers. That is helpful. Thank you. And but I would like to say, please make no mistake about my intentions here. My intentions are to help this community and you folks to lower your risk, your personal risk for suicidal behavior in your lifetime. This is what happens. And just note for a moment that how many highly successful people and their life ends with suicide. You think, why? What's that about? When they don't kind of want for nothing. Well, they got to apparently want for something. And a lot of it is because the way that people get the success in their life haunts them. And when people enter into what they like to call generically a chemical imbalance, be a depression, anxiety type situation, They then end up with a mental health crisis. And whatever you think that you can have your attorney is probably giving you some instructions about how you have plausible deniability or governmental immunity or something. But in a mental health crisis, it's not court. It's not court. Ron Keefe's not going to be there to, to try to say that, you have plausible deniability. It's like a left brain, right brain debate. And it's like, you know the answer though. So that's the problem. And so I'd ask you to please officially look into these rules of procedure and how this all works, and request a report and recommendation and a written legal opinion from Ron Keefe. He's given his legal opinion here, but he doesn't have the authority to even make a decision here. He's not an elected official. He can recommend to you, he can give you his opinion all day long, but when you, and the personal opinions of your personal opinions, that's the ethics ordinance. You can't just inject your personal opinion, which obviously the mayor is right now. It's about this public comment time thing and violating the rights of the clerk. Right now, he has the right to do this. And the clerk, what's his name, Fred Stonehouse, was saying, hard job. Yeah, hard job, mayor. You should not be engaged here with the public with this. This is an adversarial confrontation with people that come here. Why? That's over and above your job. You should be involved, yes. If the clerk needs some help, she'd say, hey, could we get some help here? That's how that's supposed to work. That's why the written rule is like that. And the points of order, I think you four are the future here. The new mayor, you four. These three can vote no all day long. And so please, just entertain the points of order, about 6, 7, 8 of them on the regular established rules, and get it all written out. And it'll properly instruct the sergeant at arms as to the public comment time.
Sir, your public comment is done.
So thank you, and please consider that.
Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening. My name is Margaret Brum. I live at 404 East Magnetic Street, and the first thing I want to do is compliment Commissioner Schlegel on his daughter. I had the delightful experience of talking with her before the meeting, and you should be very, very proud of her. She's a young lady engaged in the community and interested in what's going on and what her father is doing. So my congratulations to you, sir. Secondly, I wanted you all to save the date. December 12th, 2019, 6:30 p.m., Peter White Public Library, the Shiras Room. It's the history of the Cliffs Dow Chemical Company. I'm updating it constantly. I've got a Freedom of Information request into the clerk's office, which is causing them to lose sleep, and boxes of documents are coming my way. This presentation lasts typically between an hour and 10 minutes, and then the discussion time lasts between 10 and 30 minutes. And it will take the discussion in any direction you want to go: science, technology, legal, maps, diagrams, engineering, whatever you want to talk about. I know of no other source for this information. I looked carefully for any other place that had written this up in the way I've done it. I spent my entire professional career taking enormous amounts of technical and engineering information, reading it, digesting it, putting it in order, and putting it in a position so that people of managerial level could understand it and realize the decisions that are in front of them that need to be made. Therefore, again, this is open to the public Thursday, December 12th, 2019, 6:30 p.m., Peter White Public Library, the Shiras Room. And that's the history of the Cliffs Dow Chemical Company, and this will be the third time I've given it, and each time the room has been packed. For want of a better term, it's been packed. And the last comment is I have been quick to criticize Mr. Verito when I disagreed with him, but he's entirely right. No discussion should take place about any property, be it a lease, be it a transfer, be it a swap of property, unless there's both a legal description and a pictorial diagram easily understandable. I'm saying this as an attorney. I've refused authorization to sign agreements by my clients unless that picture was in there. And as a city commission attendee, I can tell you this is a perennial issue in front of the commission, and it's easily solvable. All you got to do is tell people, throw a map in there, and then you can start with the map, because he's right. He's 150% right that the legal description is not sufficient. And this is it's gonna come back. At some other time, it's gonna come back. So thank you very much. And again, Commissioner Schlegel, compliments to you and your daughter. Thank you.
Any additional comments from the public?
My name is Kim Frost. I work for Lutheran Social Services in Marquette. My address is 392 Town Hall Road, Scandia. I wanted to say thank you to the commissioners for voting yes on the task force. So that's amazing. I'm a part of that, and we were really hopeful you were going to join us in resolving and creating solutions. I think it's really important to remember that the scope of homelessness far exceeds just room at the inn. I think we need to remember that there's other shelters. There's Jansen, there's the Women's Center. But in addition to that, homelessness includes a lot of doubled up people who are living with other people and risking their tenancy. It includes people, Walmart has people living there right now in their cars. And it also includes a lot of working families. For the first time this summer, after working in homelessness for close to 30 years, I've never had the number of phone calls that I did this summer from families who are experiencing housing crises. They're working families, and they are no longer able to afford housing in this area. So that's another part of the task force that we'll need to address. I just wanted to say that progressive cities throughout the nation, every day you can find another progressive city doing an amazing program to help tackle homelessness. A lot of innovative programs that cities are backing, funding, and getting behind. Marquette's such a stellar city, and we need to be stellar in how we handle this issue of all of our residents. So really looking forward to the participation of the commission, and hoping that when a commissioner is appointed, it's someone who will be super passionate and progressive to join us as part of the task force. Thanks.
Anyone else for public comment?
Ryan Redmond, 405 East Park Street. I'd just like to say that I'm the executive director of a newfound 501c3 that will be also participating in the homeless task force. Superior Housing Solutions. It will be a holistic approach to solving homelessness. We have some pretty progressive, new creative ways to come up with a solve for homelessness. So we also would like to see someone that's passionate about homelessness and that have participated in some of the community events recently. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Frank Javero, these are my opinions. New members are hereby told of the many times I've urged those who doubt the accuracy of my allegations to test them against the record. Never has a member accepted this challenge. They pretend they never heard me, believing the impact of their diversion tactics will dissipate over time. Who's more likely honest, the guy who wants the record checked or those who don't? November 12th, Mr. Fraser hit his replay button again. Here I complain about his repetition when I've repeated many times that I'd stop appearing if anyone could prove my opinions are generally wrong. The difference between us is that I respond in detail while he keeps pressing the repeat button. Those who may doubt this may review his claim that I've had issues with every manager, member, and commissioner and mayor. He's been told of the members I've liked, as well as 2 of the 4 managers over my 21 years here. One of them exchanges Christmas cards with me annually. If I can get Mr. Vita's address, I'll send him one too. Mr. Fraser also repeated the quote that Mr. Verito never runs for anything. If he wants to voice his opinion, he can run for anything, end quote. This implies, as he's heard before, that we must join this board to voice a viable opinion, meaning only 7 of us can state opinions that matter in any given year. Why is this microphone even here? He then said, quote, if we constantly get called names, we get paid for that, end quote. I don't recall any member being called a name for eons. How dare he imply that I name call or threatened anyone or love doing this or that? He doesn't know what I love, but our record shows him saying so every 2 weeks. My main love is the city of Marquette. Then between his uses of my name, he mentioned a comment about Mr. Kivala. That was someone else. There was no hint of Mr. Kivala in my comments. Mr. Fraser needs to keep straight who said what and who threatened whom before he utters frivolous utterances. He's yet to respond to his library comment and his threat allegation. He next uttered, Mr. Verito doesn't bring up what's going on in the city. That's what I don't like, end quote. The irony is comments like this are what spurs the repetition. How is one to respond when he misspoke 5 times in 2 minutes? He's forgotten my dozens of comments on agenda items, land use, and our lakeshore, and the 8 times I've asked for the removal of the northwest fence at Lighthouse Park. His reason for the delay pertained to the dangerous rocks there. There's no rock anywhere near the fence I spoke of. The eventual quick removal of that fence as a last priority after years of procrastination only bolstered the validity of my cause. November 12th, we witnessed the most encouraging changes this board has seen in 21 years. I'd welcome private discussion with our new members and the 2 women to improve our relations for the benefit of all. Our new mayor is asked to tone Mr. Fraser down behind the scenes. His repetition is a massive waste of our time.
Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Brings us to comments from the commissioner. Commissioner Bonzel.
First, I just want to thank everybody who came here representing the large and growing community of people in Marquette who are doing everything they can to address homelessness. This is a really important issue. And as I said before, I'm really looking forward to hearing what the Homelessness Task Force's recommendations are going to be. I also want to note, last week I visited the Youth and Family Center at Lake Superior Village for the first time in a long time. I lived just down the street when I was in high school. I took the same bus to school as the kids who lived in Lake Superior Village, and I had a lot of friends who lived there and used the Youth and Family Center all the time. But I didn't really understand the true value of the Youth and Family Center until my visit last week. There are 10 to 20 kids that come there after school every day. Kids have access to a quiet place to do homework, get tutoring from NMU student volunteers, take free ukulele and piano lessons, participate in mentorship programs like Big Brothers Big Sisters. They have a mentoring relationship with the NMU football team and the women's soccer team as well. For many kids, it's also the only refuge they have from incredibly unhealthy home environments. The only place they can do schoolwork free from disruptions, and the only place they will always be able to get a decent, nutritious meal every day outside of school. These invaluable services are available not only to village residents, but also to kids from the surrounding neighborhood, kids like me when I was in high school. Unfortunately, as Sharon Mackey, she took the time to meet with me last week, and as Commissioner Lorenzer noted earlier, the Youth and Family Center is losing a significant amount of grant funding this year, about $25,000. I believe very strongly that the Youth and Family Center provides an indispensable community service and makes a huge impact on many children's lives. I'm 100% committed to keeping the Youth and Family Center fully funded and operational. And if the Housing Commission is unable to find additional funding, I believe that the city should consider offering assistance to prevent cuts to services for youth in the neighborhood. Sharon, I just want to thank you very much for meeting with me last week and for coming to answer our questions tonight. And I'm looking forward to working with you to preserve this vital community resource. I also want to congratulate Mayor Smith and Mayor Pro Tem Hill on their elections at our last meeting, and thank them for all of their guidance and support that they've already provided to me as a new commissioner. Thanksgiving's coming up this week, and I'm really thankful for both of you. Finally, I just want to wish everybody a happy and reflective Thanksgiving, and I want to encourage everyone to join me in taking a walk downtown and supporting our local businesses this week on Small Business Saturday.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorenzer?
Ron, I know you hate when we recap meetings, but today was pretty exciting for me. Recycling, low-income progress, Beacon House, homelessness, those are fundamental things on my platform, and I'm happy that we were able to address all of them. I don't have much tonight. I'm just grateful for the progress, and I mean that in every sense of the word progress. This is the city that I love, and it is progressive and exciting. And I'm happy that we're tackling a lot of these things. I do want to. So there's also, along with what Evan was saying, Commissioner Boncel was saying, Lake Superior Community Village, I believe, has a fundraiser on December 6th with the Phi Kappa Delta Omega something, the fraternity. And so they'll be collecting children's clothing and toys for Christmas. And so there's a tub push downtown. We might have to Google that. I'm kind of vague on details there, but that's really exciting. Also, last week I had the opportunity to visit what is called the Itty Bitty City Committee, and they're a robot STEM club from Father Marquette. They researched the repurposing of the ORDOC, and these are 4th to 6th graders from Father Marquette, part of the City Shaper competition. They won their competition, and it's all designed on city. It's like a city plan for them to implement. They consulted with REI or GIE, Bot Echo, IDI, and they presented to me instructions and suggestions for how to make use of the ORDOC. It was really exciting. So they now go to the state finals in 3 weeks, and you can follow them on Superior Minds 906 on Facebook. So congratulations to them. It's really exciting to see the next generation tackle really big city issues, and I was very impressed. I couldn't have done it. So thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Really great meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Schlegel.
Thank you. Mayor, I think you can attest that this is probably one of the most well-rounded agendas that we've seen as far as getting some big ticket items, taken care of tonight. And it's very exciting. One thing that, we did talk about the Beacon House. The name Steve Mariucci has been mentioned, but I don't think it's been mentioned nearly enough. Him and his family and the work that they put in to supporting the Beacon House has been tireless and truly champions of the cause, and I want to thank them personally. Along with, again, the committee behind the Beacon House and Duke Life Point for making that happen. Truly, when you look back 5 years and you think of how much has happened in the last 5 years in the city of Marquette, there's about 5 or 6 massive undertakings that I never imagined when I was considering, putting my hat into the ring for being a commissioner and then having to go through the appointmentship. I guess my point is, we're getting a lot of stuff done, and we're getting a lot of stuff done in a hurry with a lot of great work from the community. And again, I want to go back to the comment. It doesn't matter if we're talking about healthcare, homelessness, or our sidewalks. We are our neighbors. We're Yoopers taking care of Yoopers. We have to be that together, and we have to wear that on our sleeve. Doesn't matter if we're talking about the city of Marquette or the county of Marquette or the UP in general. We are one, and I think that there's one sports team that was left, and I'm trying to think of who they were. The Panthers, that was going downstate for football from the east end of the UP, Pickford. Yeah. So good luck. I don't know what happened there or what the next step is, but as I said before, UP Power, back when it didn't matter where you're from, once playoffs began and you started heading downstate, you just wanted to get a piece of them. So hopefully they prevailed. But thank you for a well-run meeting tonight. I appreciate it. And to the other commissioners, look forward to this continuing. Have a great night. Oh, thanks. Happy Thanksgiving.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Thank you. We met last week with the Board of Light and Power. I just wanted to give you a quick recap. It was in the newspaper. TV6 and ABC 10 were both there. But what's happening, the steam plant, the Shira steam plant down in South Beach closed in June, and we are fully using the natural gas generators out on Wright Street. Plus, we're buying off the grid about half the time now, greatly reducing our costs. And the Board of Light and Power Board has authority over what's happening to their properties, but wanted to bring us up to speed on what's going on. It's going to take a couple of years to bring down the buildings the buildings are, have contamination issues, permits being on the bottomlands of Lake Superior. There's land adjustments that need to be made. I feel confident that we will have communication with them every step of the way. There's also the what's called ash settling ponds, where they used to have water from the that would help with cleaning out the plant, keeping the plant within pollution controls. Those metal grates and things are probably going to be coming out, and that area is going to be repurposed. And then the metal substation is going to remain. Moving it would cost millions of dollars, and it's going to stay there. It's a critical node in our electric system, and that will not be moving. And for more information, I encourage you to contact the Board of Light and Power. Again, I think they're very interested in communicating in the future. Their new chair is John Prince, and their director is Tom Carpenter. And then upcoming, speaking of energy, I was appointed by Governor Whitmer to the UP Energy Task Force. Our first goal is to talk about disruptions to the propane supply. We're going to be having a meeting on December 10th, which is just one day after our next meeting, so I thought I would mention it today. It's going to be here at the new Northern Center, and it's a chance for people to learn about we are starting the process of drafting recommendations to the governor about what would happen if there were disruptions to the propane supply, such as what happened in the polar vortex winter of 13-14. And then in the next year, we're also going to be talking about overall energy issues for the whole UP. And I also wanted to mention that coming up on Friday, December 6th is the holiday parade. And so please come down and join the festivities, get to light the Christmas tree and enjoy the parade. That's always a lot of fun. I believe that starts at 6 o'clock. And then we'll have the tree lighting at Marquette Common. And happy Thanksgiving and good luck shoveling all the snow on Wednesday.
Thank you. So our meeting tonight was very productive. I wanted to thank the city staff for all your hard work, the commission for supporting city staff and what they do. I'm also glad that the majority of city staff will be able to have some holiday time with their families this weekend, but I wanted to give an extra shout out to those folks in the city that are going to work through the holiday: police, firefighters, snowplow drivers, etc. I'm sure there's many more. Thank you to your service and dedication to our community. During the past 2 weeks, I've had a lot of conversations with commissioners, with city staff about a lot of different projects we're working on. I do want to say I'm honored to serve as the mayor, and I'm very much looking forward to the challenge in the year ahead. Just in the last couple weeks, there's been several things that have happened and things coming up, so I just have a few highlights here. We had last week Ladies' Night in downtown Marquette, which was a massive success. Thank you to the DDA and to local businesses for putting on this event. The proceeds from the passport sales go to the women's shelter, and it's always well attended. We had a ribbon cutting for a business, Superior Wealth Management, in the old City Hall building. Looking forward to seeing what they're able to do there. Spoke with some local business owners and residents about numerous city issues and questions. Wanted to remind everyone to please feel free to reach out to any of us at any time with any questions or concerns that you have. That's what we're here for. I met with a student at NMU who's interested in having the Wildcat Business Association members be mentored by some of us city commissioners. So I wanted to throw that out there if anyone's interested, or even city staff members as well. And then lastly, on Friday, December 6th, there will be a workshop at NMU. It's called the Coastlines and People, History of Shoreline Development and Mapping the Coastal System. And I am honored to be giving a brief introduction along with NMU President Fritz Erickson at that event. That's all that I have for this evening. City Manager, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple. First of all, thank you for your continued support tonight. And, the Beacon House situation was very timely and very necessary, and I do appreciate that support. I know that in dealing with this project that both the Beacon House and Duke Life Point were very intent about completing this action, so you served them well. And lastly, just want to remind the public this is a short week for city personnel. We close on Thursday and Friday of this week in honor of the Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 7:29 PM.